for what? Chips, a card game, blackjack, gambling. How horrendous a thought is that? To lose it all because of that. They say that gambling is this silent and invisible addiction. Unlike smoking or drinking or drugs. You can't see gambling, you can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it. When you look at somebody, you can't really tell, unless of course they've had a bad day at the casino. I hid it pretty well. Horrifically embarrassed, horribly ashamed, regrets, far too many to list and talk about on today's show. But they say to own it, and I do. In my late 30s, it began to get out of control. And in my 40s, my ex-wife actually suggested that I go to rehab. And we were separated at the time. Shortly thereafter, we were separated. And I was against the idea, but it made sense. And I began the process, and I am happy to say that I did go to rehab. Wasn't happy then. I went, and almost instantly, I realized what I had done. Worked with therapists who really knocked some sense into me and who brought me down countless pegs, countless rungs in a ladder, completely. I was diminished to a pathetic, turned inside out young man. But it worked. I don't like to use the word former gambler, ex-gambler, in remission. I believe that either you get it or you don't. I was lucky enough to get it. I was there for a number of weeks. Went to bed crying, woke up crying, and cried throughout the day as well, knowing full well that me being there was in fact the right thing to do. One of the hardest parts, I must tell you, about going to rehab was when I had to tell my two young teenage boys that Daddy was going away for a while. And my ex-wife and my family said, we'll help you do anything. But when it comes to telling your boys you're going to rehab, you, Howard, must tell them yourself. And they were right. And much to my surprise, which shouldn't have been, I remember exactly where I was when I told them that Daddy was going away for a few weeks to better himself. They both got up, gave me a huge kiss and hug, and were so, so happy. And you can't buy that or fake that on teenage boys. It was real. And that really gave me the extra push to decide to go. And go I went. And I realized that when I got back, it's what I wanted to do. Meaning, I wanted to help people like I used to be. I went to university in my 40s now, and I studied and learned about problem gambling and all that comes with it. I don't like to use the word therapist or counselor, and I'm certainly not a doctor, but I work with people who have any kind of problem in the world of gambling. They say, whoever they are, that for every gambler it affects up to 14 people, between 4 and 14 people, which is an average of 9 people. So if you're a gambler, you're affecting 9 other lives. Your husband, your wife, your kids, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your friends, your colleagues at work, your boss, your employees. God knows. And it's true in my case. I've counted. and it's affected far more than 9 people. But I'd like to think that the last couple of years I've done good. I've literally saved people's lives. I've saved people's marriages. I have patched families back together again, for which I am very, very proud of. I'm very, very proud that in my wall at home hangs many certificates from courses I've taken over the years here in Quebec and in New York State, studied the world of suicide for youths, suicide for adults, the pathological gambler, what goes through his or her mind, what people think, how casinos work. I've studied it all. I've been there. I don't think there's a story in the world of gambling that I haven't heard yet. I'd be very, very surprised if I heard a new story. I've had hits, some awful hits, but I've tried to bounce back each and every time. And when I do, I think I come back a bit stronger, skin a bit thicker, and willing to take on the world a bit more. The world of gambling has destroyed so many people, so many families. It's horrific. That's who I am. Howard Reback, a guy that had a great upbringing, mucked up my middle years, and hopefully, I'm happy or proud to say, back on track, new line of work, and doing something that I think really helps society. It may sound like a bogus or hokey thought or comment, but it's true. I don't work with notes, no cue cards. It's all coming from the heart. I've lived it. 30 years, almost 11,000 days of world of gambling, most of them bad. I'd love you to join us every week. Different topics, stories, and maybe you'll learn something. And if I am able to touch one person or 2 persons per show and get you to rethink or rewire your brain to the good, my job is done. Thank you, and remember, it's really not how often you fall, it's how often you get up. We'll see you next week.